Alright, this is the last time we're gonna do this, so let's make it good.
Damn, boy, he's thick. Boy, that's a thick-ass boy. Damn.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video on the website known as YouTube. Today, we're going to be going over the top 4 albums, musical projects, with several songs contained within these projects, released in the year of 2018. There were lots of projects this year, lots of fantastic albums that came out this year that I really enjoyed, but these are the 4 that I loved. Let's get to the list, starting off with number 4. Sipping on straight glory, let the vibe slide over me. Trench. This is a fantastic record, but let me talk about the group for a second here. Now, there is obviously no denying the fact that every release, every mainstream Fueled by Ramen album release that they've made leading up to this project, despite their quality, have been major landmark moments in the group's history, with Vessel and Blurryface being very popular and prevalent pop albums, not only within the group's fan base, but also just in the pop hemisphere in general. And so, obviously, props to the group for making albums that popular, that fast and quick into their career. But there's obviously no denying the fact that Blurryface is one of the most needlessly edgy, emo, and try-hard albums I've heard in my entire life. Almost every single track on that thing is just abysmally edgy. So naturally, I wasn't going into Trench expecting it to be one of the best things I've ever heard, ever. This album is so good that I saw it live. Thank you, Seth, for inviting me to go see it. Their live performance and charisma was amazing, but that's another video for another time. The album on its own is an amazing statement and effort in terms of sort of this darker age and more mature age of pop rock music. Tracks like Neon Gravestones and Chlorine and even a little bit of Legend sort of deal with these darker, more heartfelt and meaningful themes, which is not something that I was expecting from 21 Pilots going in. But this whole album has a lot of really intelligent lyricism and articulation, which is surprising considering the fact that this album is really well written. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a lot more well written than most albums that came out this year, which is not at all what I was expecting. I thought it was pretty well structured, with sort of a combination of these lighter, more upbeat tracks like Morph, My Blood, The Hype. There are lots of light songs, and then there are also some much darker, more gritty and intense songs, especially highlights like Jumpsuit and Levitate, which is a fantastic double opening for this album, with sort of the weird, smooth synthesizers leading in from Jumpsuit to Levitate, and Jumpsuit being this sort of big, sort of studio arena epic, almost like super heavy rock song, and then Levitate being one of the most well-produced, I guess, sort of rap songs of the year, with some really amazing articulation and commentary on the current state of music and oversaturation. This album's amazing. It wasn't at all expecting it to be as amazing as it was, but it was fantastic. It was really fantastic. So yeah, give Trench by 21 Pilots a listen. So what you just heard was a bit of the song Black Balloons by Denzel Curry off of his new album, and that new album happens to be at my number 3 spot. It's called Taboo. Taboo is a 3-act hardcore hip-hop record, with the first act being a more smooth, sultry, braggadocious R&B section of the record, the second third being a bit more of an intense and dark endeavor into articulations of the current political climate and emotional and personal struggles with mental health for Denzel, and the final and third act of this record being one of the most hard-hitting, I guess, collection of hip-hop tracks of the year. This entire album is amazing. My brother told me to listen to it a few months ago, and, you know, I was just like, okay, alright. But once I actually sat down and listened to it from Taboo to Black Metal Terrorist, all 13 tracks, all the way through in one sitting. I was floored by this album. It is truly one of the most bold, dark, disturbing, and creative endeavors into hip-hop in terms of a full-length project goes that I've heard in a long time. You have some amazing sort of smaller, happier tracks like Black Balloons. Black Balloons, oh my god, it's so hard to listen to that track and just not have this big dumb smile on your face the whole entire time. And moving into the second act, you have tracks like Sirens, which is just the chorus is just like super infectious. Denzel has a super honest, truthful, and incredibly well-written verse about the current state in terms of politics in America. This is such a good track. And then Jid has an amazing feature as well. There are plenty of great rhyme schemes, great flow, amazing melancholy beat. The chorus, like I said, is incredible. And then, of course, that leads into Clout Cobain, which we all know, and if you don't know, just listen to Clout Cobain. It's sort of the centerpiece of this whole record. And then that leads into Act 3 with tracks like Perks, Vengeance, and finishing off with Black Metal Terrorist. All incredibly hard-hitting, especially Perks. Anyway, this whole album is just a huge achievement for Denzel, and so even though this whole act idea wasn't as fleshed out as it could have been, the album itself, aside from its structure, is amazing. There's not a single low point on the entire record. I highly encourage you to give this thing a listen. It's fantastic through and through. Every track hits. It's a bop. MGMT with Little Dark Age. Wow. This album came about when I was really getting into the vaporwave scene. So naturally, the thoughts of the same guys who made tracks like Kids and Time to Pretend, two tracks that I really enjoyed, were making a synthwave record. Didn't actually get to me. I didn't get the news at all until my brother showed me the title track, Little Dark Age, and I was floored. I immediately looked it up after he told me about it. Amazing record. And I think the main thing about this record that I love so much is how every track is distinct. There is not a single track that is in the same sort of thematic vein as the last. Every track is different and unique from one another, and it all syncs perfectly. It's kind of short at only 10 tracks, but it is so well paced, it's so well structured, and it also just has its own quirky sense of charm to it. The writing as well, the writing is actually really figurative and sort of ambiguous and ominous especially. The only song where I feel like the writing really comes through to be something very tangible and not as vague as everything else is T.S. Lamp, or Time Spent Looking at My Phone, which is like one of the most brutally truthful songs of the entire decade. And then you have Hand It Over, which when I first listened to it felt kind of vaguely political. It could also be interpreted as a self-reflection on MGMT, their career, and their past. So there's lots of theories as to what that song could mean, but despite whatever you want any of these lyrics to mean, when it comes to how this album sounds and how this album's paced, there's no denying its excellency. I absolutely encourage you to check it out. It is 100% my pop album of the year. So good. So good. Check it out. Please, thank you, good night. Oh wait, no, it's not good night, because I have one more album to talk about. My number one album of the year. I'm not going to do some goofy opening or something like that. It's Brockhampton's Iridescence. With the release of Iridescence, I was really excited. And listening to it, it was good, but I wasn't digging it as much as I was Saturation. I was feeling like a 7 or an 8. It wasn't the sort of 9 to 10 I was expecting it to be. That is until I listened to it more and more in its full form, and I kind of realized it's a masterpiece. Maybe not objectively, but for me, dear God, this album, I feel like towards the first half, I sort of grew on the way that they were sort of structuring their music as a bit more of a pass the mic, where they're all sort of riffing over these amazing beats with some incredible production. But then after Loophole, I felt like we were not only getting more substance out of the lyricism, but also a lot more passion. And that's not necessarily a ding to the first half. It felt like they were building up a lot of this emotional energy. And the last 3 tracks on this thing, San Marcos, Tanya, and Fabric, are all incredibly emotional and vibrant ballad-ish tracks. San Marcos is a straight-up auto-tune, acoustic guitar, and choir ballad. Listening to the second half of that song, all I could think, and I'm sure that a lot of other people could think as well, is just how far Brockhampton has come, how much they've been through. It felt like a moment of redemption for them, moving past all of the issues, struggles, and controversies in their life. That's just a small sample of the amount of excellency going into this album. I could easily talk about its structure, I could easily talk about Joubert and what an amazing moment that was for the group, but I won't. I want you to experience it for yourself if you're interested, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. Brockhampton, Iridescence, #1 album of the year. Love it to death. Anyway, that's it. That's my list. Hopefully, I'm going to be coming out with a couple more videos, especially a end of the year film list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Look forward to more content. Look forward to more amazing content in the future. Yeah, that's it. See ya.